Good morning. I hereby call to order this 15th meeting of the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, and I ask that you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meeting August 31st, 2017, and I will call upon Commissioner Sweet as the editor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've reviewed the August 31st, 2017 minutes and would move their approval.
You have heard the motion to approve the August 31st, 2017 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Place. Any further edits, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0. Next on our agenda is our public meeting agenda, and I will call up our Director of the Office of Special Assistance, Cheryl Walker-Davis, to lead us through today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning. Good morning.
May it please this Honorable Commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Commission's Bureau of Audits appearing on page 1 of the public meeting agenda. It is recommended that the Commission adopt the items there appearing, commencing with the recommendation to make public the MEI report and implementation plan for the PECO Energy Company's management efficiency investigation for the 2013 Focused Management and Operations Audit.
Is there a motion to adopt a staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sweet, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And it should be clarified that while we commenced with that item, of course, the motion covers the items on the page through and including the last item pertaining to the annual report for fiscal year 2016 and 17 pertaining to the total management audits and management efficiency investigations.
Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely. Continuing with the presentation of items and matters on behalf of the Commission's Bureau of Consumer Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt on page 2 the 2 recommendations pertaining to the Philadelphia Gas Works Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan for the years 2017 through 2020, as well as the PPL Electric Utilities Corporation Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan for the years 2017 through 2019.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Commission's Office of Special Assistance in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt those matters, commencing with that at the top of page 3 involving the formal complaint of Ciamina versus PECO Energy Company. It should be noted that the second item on page 3 pertaining to the formal complaint of Kenneth McLean versus Philadelphia Gas Works has been postponed until public meeting of October the 26th. The omnibus continues to include the 2 items appearing on page 4 through and including the matter pertaining to the complaint of the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus John W. Helms, TA, Johnny Helms Transport.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations, or are you going to include the rest of the omnibus?
Well, I was going to do it
Okay, thank you very much.
separate one.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations up to page 4 as presented by our Director of Office of Special Assistance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sweet, second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Again, in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendations appearing on pages 5 and 6 through and including the formal complaint proceeding involving Christine McSorley versus PECO Energy Company.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With regard to the petition for reconsideration of the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement in the matter involving the Aqua Pennsylvania Wastewater, Inc. acquisition of the assets of New Garden Township and New Garden Township Authority, we recommend the adoption of the staff recommendation, noting the statement of Vice Chairman Place.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Sweet. And under discussion, I recognize Vice Chairman Place for his statement.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Secretary, I ask that my statement be entered into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before us for disposition is the petition for reconsideration of our order entered on June 29, 2017, that was submitted by the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement on July 14, 2017. Aqua Pennsylvania Wastewater Incorporated filed an answer to said petition on July 24, 2017. I agree with certain aspects of the relevant analysis and proposed disposition in this matter, including the conclusion that petitions for reconsideration of Commission orders that have been issued within the 6-month timeframe specified for Joint Section 1102 and 1329 applications are legally permissible. However, I have previously dissented from the Commission's approval of the underlying acquisition transaction as being contrary to the public interest. And the present phase of this proceeding has accorded an insufficient reexamination of the Commission's original June 29, 2017 order to alter my underlying opposition. Therefore, I will respectfully dissent. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Place. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
The motion passes 3-1, noting the dissent of Vice Chairman Place.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation in the matter involving the application of Michael Stover, T.A. Michael Stover Trucking, at the bottom of page 7.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Commission's Bureau of Technical Utility Services in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the various recommendations of the Bureau, commencing with that at the top of page 8, in the matter involving the Ryman Natural Gas Company's cessation of service, abandonment of service, and transfer of assets. Continuing with the remaining items on pages 8 and 9 through and including the matter involving the application of Spring Energy RRH LLC, DBA Spring Power and Gas's application to offer, render, furnish, or supply electricity or electric generation services to various customers.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sweet, second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Law Bureau. On page 10 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation with regard to the first matter pertaining to the petition of the National Fuel Gas Distribution Corporation seeking a waiver of certain Commission regulations with regard to notice requirements for the state tax adjustment surcharge.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
It is recommended on behalf of the Law Bureau that the Commission adopt the recommendation with regard to the Verizon Pennsylvania LLC and Verizon North LLC petition to waive certain of the Commission's regulations regarding the amount and calculation of late payment charges.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion?
Chairman, I do have a verbal statement on this case. I do agree with the staff recommendation. In this case this morning, Verizon seeks a waiver of our 6416 regulations to the Commission in which they limits the late payment charges to 1.25% assessment to the outstanding customer overdue bill. In its petition, Verizon requests that its non-competitive wire centers that the commission permitted to replace the 1.25% limit on the late payment charges with a monthly minimum late payment fee of $5 or 1.5%, whichever is greater. I support the staff recommendation to grant the petition for waiver in part and permit Verizon to charge its late payment charge approach as proposed, but for non-Lifeline customers only. I note that granting the requested relief in this manner would avoid a rate increase for all Verizon residential local exchange service customers in non-competitive wire centers in Pennsylvania for the years 2018 and 2019 and perhaps longer. I further note that under Pennsylvania law, public utilities are entitled to be compensated for services rendered, and granting the requested relief would result in an outcome that better incentivizes Verizon customers to pay their bills in a timely manner. I believe that granting the petition in part strikes the right balance between encouraging customers to make timely payments while also taking into account the circumstances of some of the most vulnerable citizens. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would just like to say that I agree with the analysis that you've just heard from Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you very much. Any further conversation, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed?
I will also be voting no. So the motion fails for lack of a majority, and there's no action taken at this time on this matter.
Continuing with the presentation of agenda items, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the Law Bureau's recommendation in the remaining item at the bottom of page 10 involving the petition for protective order in the proceeding involving the United Telephone Company of Pennsylvania, LLC, DBA Century Links, 2017 annual price cap filing.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Commission's Office of Administrative Law Judge, it is recommended that the Commission adopt A.L.J. Barnes's recommended decision in the matter involving the Commission's Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Metropolitan Edison Company and North Heidelberg Sewer Company.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt A.L.J. Heap's recommended decision recommending approval of a settlement without modification in the matter involving the Pico Energy Company's purchase gas cost proceeding, noting the statement of Commissioner Coleman.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. And under discussion, I recognize Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chairman. Just ask that my statement be entered in the record as though I read it in entirety. This is a conflict statement for Philip Kirchner, who is a member of my team, formerly serving with our Bureau of Investigation Enforcement, and he has not advised me on this proceeding.
Thank you. On the motion, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
The following three matters, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, pertain to the purchase gas cost filings of the various UGI companies, those being UGI Central Penn Gas, Inc. at the bottom of page 11, as well as UGI Penn Natural Gas, Inc. on page 12, and the UGI Utilities, Inc. on page 12. We recommend the adoption of the various recommended decisions approving settlements in those proceedings without modification, noting the combined statement of Vice Chairman Place with regard to all three proceedings.
Is there a motion to adopt a staff recommendation on these three matters?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Sweet. Under discussion, I recognize Vice Chairman Place for his combined statements.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, I ask that my statement be entered into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before us for consideration of the annual purchase gas cost tariffs of UGI Central Penn Gas Incorporated, UGI Penn Natural Gas Incorporated, and UGI Utilities Incorporated Gas Division, as amended by the stipulation and settlement filed August 11, 2017. The settlement provisions in these cases were submitted to Administrative Law Judge Stephen K. Haas for review and approval. The ALJ recommended approval of the annual purchase gas cost tariff filings as amended by the settlements, and I concur. While I approve the settlements in the above captioned cases, I wish to draw attention to several issues which I request that the parties more thoroughly address in the future. Firstly, each of these proceedings demonstrate rather high undercollections, which resulted in E-factors which were approximately 7.3%, 10.9%, and 5.9% for UGI, CPG, and PNG, respectively. Given the elimination of migration riders, it is imperative that the UGI companies reduce these E-factors so that proper cost allocation is achieved. Otherwise, retail choice decisions are unreflective of actual market prices. Secondly, I am concerned with the amount of capacity being purchased, how supply is covered, and the methods used to distribute gas to the company's new and expanding load. More specifically, UGI is reserving a 2.5% reserve margin over and above the 30-year coldest day forecast methodology as adjusted for wind adders. Additionally, the highest send-out ever for CPG was 186.6 thousand decatherms per day on February 19, 2015. While the design requirements for CPG were slightly reduced in the settlement to 217.834 thousand decatherms a day, this remains a margin above the historical high of 16.7%. Similarly, for PNG, the design requirements were slightly reduced by the settlement to 653.693 thousand decatherms a day, with the highest send-out for this company being 490.1 thousand decatherms a day, a 33% margin above historical maximum send-out. For UGI, the design day requirement was 859,000 decatherms per day, with the highest send-out for this company being 709.9 thousand decatherms per day, again, a margin of 21% above historical maximum send-out. The significant differences between actual peak day send-out and design day requirements in the settlement raises the question of whether this level of peak day procurement is necessary. Moving forward, I request that the parties examine the differences and provide an explanation for the peak day requirements and the corresponding costs associated with these procurements. As noted above, I'm also concerned about the method of procurement for these consistently increasing peak supply requirements. UGI repeatedly has issued requests for procurement under the same basic structure with the same inherent result, a contract with its affiliate. It is unclear from the record whether this method is least cost, given the ability of upstream contracts to be released. Released capacity funds acquired can be netted against the cost of these storage and/or transportation contracts. To the extent no storage or transportation contracts exist, I ask that UGI more thoroughly work with suppliers to identify a means of improving the competitive structure of these RFPs. Lastly, as demonstrated in the record from testimony of one of the company's witnesses, UGI companies have utilized temporary liquefied natural gas supplies to support their distribution systems. PNG has also used LNG to maintain service to customers taking service from low-pressure mains during high-demand, pressure-reducing, severe cold weather conditions. Thus, LNG is being used to support the distribution, not to supply the distribution system. In short, LNG is becoming synonymous with distribution pipe. This situation poses the question of whether such costs should be allocated as distribution costs, recoverable in distribution rates, or whether these costs should be allocated as supply costs, recoverable in PJC rates. UGI's witness indicated the company will be using LNG to reinforce the UGI company's systems over the next several winters. It is the company's position that all costs associated with the provision of LNG to ensure continued service during system improvement projects may be recovered as a natural gas cost as defined in 66 PA Code 1307H. I want to make clear that my approval of these settlements does not endorse this position beyond that committed to in these settlements, which are limited to the 2016 and 2017 winter for UGI. I am grateful for the efforts of the Office of Consumer Advocate to curb these peak day purchase requirements, but ask that further scrutiny of these contracting practices be pursued in future 1307F filings for the companies. When adding together these elements, high contract amounts, expensive peaking contracts, and the cost of LNG systems distributed along the distribution system, it raises the question as to whether or not some of this new load is truly covering its incremental costs. Lastly, in the filing, the UGI company's lost and unaccounted for gas percentages were substantially below baseline and continuing to trend down. I commend the companies for these results and note the contribution of accelerated pipeline replacement in this improved performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Place. Any further discussion?
Chairman, I'd like to associate myself with the Vice Chairman's statement this morning, and particularly regarding UGI's use of one of its affiliates for procuring peak supply requirements. And it's my hope that in the future, this issue will be looked at a little bit more closely as they procure purchase gas cost proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Any further discussion? Hearing none. On the motion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
With that concluding the presentation of regular agenda items, we now turn to the carry-in agenda. It is recommended on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation in the proceeding involving the petition for reconsideration of staff action of Anthony F. Williams, T.A. Tony Williams, Chorus Service.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Place, second by Commissioner Sweet. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation in the matter involving the Newtown Artesian Water Company's application proposing an increase in its existing distribution system improvement charge cap from 5% to 7.5%.
Is there a motion to adopt staff recommendation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Vice Chairman Place. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 4-0.
And that does conclude the presentation of public meeting agenda items.
Thank you very much. Before we adjourn today's meeting, we have two very special items we want to bring to your attention and give some comments. First, I would like to recognize October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month that we are recognizing here in Pennsylvania, along with Governor Wolf. As we know, this month is designed to engage and educate public and private sector partners through events and initiatives to raise awareness about cybersecurity, provide them with tools and resources needed to stay safe online, and increase the resiliency of the nation in the event of a cyber incident. In Pennsylvania, we have been fortunate that there have been no large-scale cyber attacks which have occurred in our utilities. An orchestrated cyber attack on our utility infrastructure could have the same wide-reaching and long-lasting impact on our communities as hurricanes or other natural disasters, not only disrupting the flow of electricity, but also impacting many other vital systems and services that we depend on. Since 2013, the PUC has worked with federal agencies, including the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's Office of Energy Infrastructure Security, to train our in-house staff and assess capabilities, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. We are also working with our sister agencies as well here in the state. We work with all of our regulated utilities in an ongoing dialogue to examine an all-hazards approach to security, both physical and cybersecurity. My colleagues and I welcome the opportunity to work with stakeholders in preparedness, response, and recovery to identify ways we can work together more efficiently and effectively in the event of a black sky incident. The PUC has taken the following steps to respond to a cyber incident. We have worked to develop and implement an integrated communications campaign to increase awareness. We have worked hard to enhance preparation and coordination between our utilities,
encourage greater communication between different sectors, develop and promote best practices for our mid-sized and small entities, and integrate other state agencies, emergency responders, and non-government organizations in our Black Sky planning. Black Sky events will disrupt our lives and have a disastrous impact on essential services across large areas of Pennsylvania and our neighboring states. Addressing these threats now requires a collaborative approach by the private and public sectors as well as not-for-profit organizations and will strengthen our response and ability to recover. So once again, we would just like to recognize October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month here in Pennsylvania. I now would like to recognize Commissioner Sweet for giving us some comments on the National Customer Service Week.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This week, October 2nd through October 6th, is recognized as National Customer Service Week. This year's theme is, quote, making a difference every day, every customer. It's an appropriate time to thank all utility and PUC employees who work with consumers on a regular basis. And in particular, I want to direct my remarks towards our own employees at BCS. Our Bureau of Consumer Services in particular has recognized the importance of this week and recognizes every day the importance of customer service. You are the people on the front lines who are often the first to know that issues are brewing and who are often the first to provide attempts to resolve individual customer-consumer problems. Daily, our call center personnel deal with concerned customers who do not know where to turn for critical public services. You work to build trust and confidence with the public. Each year, our BCS handles close to 200,000 complaints and inquiries. Investigators handle approximately 60 to 75,000 informal cases per year. Those are big numbers. This work is difficult. It requires a lot of knowledge about the broad swath of programs that we have for customers and consumers, and as well knowledge about the basic procedures of the Public Utility Commission. Beyond knowledge, it requires patience. And someone like me, who's usually on the other end of a phone call, not with our BCS staff, but with the many services that one engages in life, I tend to be a rather impatient consumer or customer when I'm on those calls. And I'm not always as gentle or as courteous even as I should be. And I know that our own customer service representatives who work in the call centers have to be extremely deft, extremely patient, and extremely knowledgeable in order to perform their duties. So I thank all of them, and on behalf of the entire commission and the commission's management, we thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Commissioner Sweet. Commissioner Coleman.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to briefly give a shout out to our gas safety folks this morning. We're in receipt of a letter from the USDOT's Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, and they do an annual audit of our gas safety division. And again, this year we received a score of 50 out of 50. So I want to commend the team for what they do each and every day. It's not an easy job. And Rick, to you and to Paul and to all of the members of Gas Safety, congratulations for another good year. Thank you.
Thank Commissioner Sweet and Commissioner Coleman for their comments. And let me just sum it up by saying this is a reflection of the work that all of our staff do here at the commission. We get this recognition, so we do thank BCS for all their hard work, as well as our gas safety division under Paul Metro's supervision. So Pennsylvania is truly a state that other states look to, and we see that each and every time we travel, as they look at Pennsylvania for our strength, as we are working to do so many things for our consumers. So we just want to thank you generally and continue to give the recognition that you deserve. And with all of that, Okay. If there's nothing else to come before the commission, without objection, we are adjourned.